Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Arsenal Fan Theory. As usual, I'm joined with Dean Schnettler and Brendon Duplessis. Tonight, we will talk about another disappointing defeat to Brighton, and we'll also get into the preview for the Southampton game.
Thanks, Michael, for introducing us in the podcast. I like the energy. You came in strong. All right, guys. I think, like always, let's look at the team that Arteta picked. I think there were one or two surprises. The main surprise, obviously, was Saka playing in midfield. And Dean, me and you had a long discussion. Well, not a long discussion. We had a discussion regarding the team selection beforehand, and what the thought process is behind it. What formation they're going to settle on, where Saka's going to play, and eventually we both were right, as we mentioned, because Saka and Aubameyang had quite a bit of rotation on the left hand side, and Saka sometimes came into the middle, sometimes overlapped. So, what was your thoughts on the team selection and obviously the formation?
Yeah, look, I like the team selection that came out on the day. Um, as you said, we can actually divulge. There was a lot of tactical change. As you said, Aubameyang and Saka almost moved in and out with each other. But then sometimes in defense, we also dropped it three at the back, and Saka or Uba would cover depending on who was on the wing at that stage. So yeah, we can break down the tactics, but I think there's a lot to break down there. But I enjoyed the movement. We discussed it before the game. How Thierry Henry used to move in and out, and yeah, the concept is there. You can see, you can see Arteta's trying to get his concept across to the players, but you can see what he's trying to do is probably a bit too complicated for the players.
Yeah, well, if you look at our two fullbacks, Bellerin and Kolasinac, like, so Bellerin was more pushed into midfield where he was supposed to be a extra distributor of the ball, basically, and Kolasinac was basically a third centre back most of the game. Where for me, his strongest asset is pushing forward with the ball. He's got a strong physique, so he runs well with the ball. His crossing is not the best, but he makes the overlapping runs usually, which we didn't see much of in the Brighton game. Yes.
Brendon, I just quickly want to jump in with my thoughts on this whole team selection. Well, I was obviously disappointed not to see Tierney start again, but it's understandable. He's been out for a prolonged period of time, and to play two games in 4 days might have been a bit much for him. And to be honest, I don't know going forward if 4-4-2 would be our best option. I think to me it's becoming clear that uh, I think Lacazette needs to come off the bench, try and make an impact. We start with Pepe uh, and Aubameyang up front as striker, and then we should probably rotate between Martinelli and Saka going forward. But just going on the two fullbacks quickly. So it looked like Arteta is trying to get a direct link between the centre back and Pepe on the right wing. So I know Mustafi and Pepe had a big link up between the two of them. He actually gave the ball to Pepe 14 times, which is 9 times more than any other player passed the ball to Pepe. And yeah, it's clear that the Bellerin was pushed in to the midfield a bit more, not doing the overlapping runs as he usually would. Um, but I think our strength lies in our two, in our right back and our left back, making the overlapping runs and feeding the strikers.
Well, I think he experimented probably with two up top because he wanted four players in the attacking third of the field because we haven't been creating much chances. So he tries to push an extra attacking player into that final third of theirs, which to a degree Saka did bring a little bit more dynamic play to the final third, I would say. But I think one thing Arsenal's really struggling with is adapting once the team is caught onto our tactics. So we start well for the first 15, 20 minutes. We ruffle a few feathers, and then all of a sudden you see the other team catching onto it, and it's as if we just hit a brick wall after that. So I don't know, Dean. Do you think it's because of our inability to adapt in the game, or is it maybe just the other team that starts slower than Arsenal?
Yeah, look, if you look at our adaptation during the game, we did change our game up here and there. I think our biggest problem is, not finishing off the chances. Look at that first 25 minutes. I can't give you the stats exactly, but we had a number of opportunities. And, we could have been 2-0 up by the first 25 minutes. And if we were 2-0 up by the first 25 minutes, we'll be talking about a different game. So, yeah, I think it's on part on, being clinical in front of goal, part on not adapting enough.
No, we.
Once we weren't breaking, because like I said, in the first 25 minutes, I felt we broke them down quite often. And it just became less and less during the game. So, yeah, it does feel that there wasn't enough adaptation in that sense. And
Sorry
then,
if
yeah,
we just we lost today. The last thing I heard was you said a part of it was being clinical in front of goal, and the other part is adaptation in the game. It's just
yeah, and
maybe, yeah.
and the other part was, of course, I don't feel like I said, the first 25 minutes, we created a number of opportunities. And as the game went on, I just felt we created less and less. So, in that way, the opposition definitely adapted to the way we were playing. I don't think we linked up the way we wanted to, or the way Arteta wants us to. And then, yeah, this happens to us time and time again. We're on top of the game. We don't put the game to bed, and we're always going to give the opposition a chance to score. So,
And this is where it's starting to get so frustrating, Dean. We're supposed to be such an attacking heavy side. Everyone keeps talking about how badly our defense is, how bad we are in transition play, um, how bad we are on the counter attack, and we do have the attacking players. We've got plenty of attacking talent within our squad, and we had plenty of chances to go 3-4 nil up, but we're just not putting away our chances. So, just as much that we need to work on that defensive side of the game, we need to be more clinical in front of goal. And that's, as an Arsenal fan, that's really frustrating because we do have attack in plenty.
Maka, your screen is frozen. Dean, do you also see these? Dean is Michael's
uh,
also frozen on your.
no,
There he goes. All right, let's
okay.
find you back, Michael. Yeah. So where were we? We're talking about the attack. I don't know. I feel it's like the players get frustrated and get anxious the more time goes by, the more time passes. So it's as if our inability to convert chances is a heavy burden on the team. So they get more nervous, and I don't know, they just like go into a shell, probably because of their form and because we haven't been winning away. But yeah, it's a real problem. And then we can probably go into the next big talking point of the game was the Leno injury. Um, the reports are coming out. It looks like it's an ACL injury, so 6 to 9 months he's probably going to miss. And then it's a few months for him just getting back into training. So it's probably closer to a year than it is to 9 months, which is it's a big loss to us. Uh,
Yeah, that's where the frustration builds up more, because Leno, to me, he's been our player of the season. And I just feel, I know Mbappe didn't go in to injure Leno or to be too malicious or whatever, but I feel it was a very unnecessary challenge. The ball was up in the air, Leno had it in his hands. There was nothing he was competing for. He was just basically putting pressure on the keeper, and I just feel the contact he made, even though it wasn't big contact, it was unnecessary, and it ended up with Leno being out injured with an ACL injury for probably up to a
Yeah,
year.
but I think the intent of what he was trying to do, if he was trying to injure him or not, it doesn't matter. It's the action that he actually pushed him in the air that I've got a big issue with. I think all of us can agree that he probably didn't want Leonard to get injured, but what he did was he knew that something might happen, so he put the other player in danger. So he should have at least gotten a warning in game, which he didn't. Where Lacazette slid past him and he clipped him with the toe of the keeper, and he got yellow carded for it. I mean, that's just crazy. I think the officiating was absolutely ridiculous in game. I think it was we were up against it for the whole 90 minutes. Dean?
To me, exactly that. There was no real difference in Lacazette's challenge and Bupai's challenge. You know what I mean? I think Lacazette did that just to prove a point. But yeah, getting a yellow card for where Lacazette was way more 50-50 than
No,
Bupai was.
he was much closer to
Oh,
the
yeah.
ball actually being in play.
No, yeah. And I have been reading Mupai's comments about everything, and he's saying, that goes up for that challenge because sometimes the keeper drops the ball and this and that. But Leno already had control over the ball by the time he bumped him, and no matter if Leno dropped the ball after that bump, it would have been a foul. So there was no advantage for him to do that. And yeah, at the end of the day, it resulted in probably our best player. As much as we talk about Umayang, his importance, and I'm not trying to put down Umayang's importance, but Leno's importance. How many key saves does that make a game? Every game. Every game he makes at least one key save that should have been a goal. That if it wasn't down to elite goalkeeping, it would be a goal. So he's going to be a big loss. If he's going to be out now for 9 months to a year, just wonder if that's going to make Arsenal think about looking for a loan deal. Maybe not because I don't know, Martinez is not up to scratch. Clearly with that second goal, I don't feel I don't feel he's of quality.
Like me and you had a chat on the day right after the game, Dean. We don't feel that, or well, I don't feel that Leno would have conceded that second goal. Leno's good at smithing the ball, but he does stay in the air, or he does stay big as much as he possibly can. And I don't know, Martinez just dived in, and he gave them the opportunity to get the winner, and that's obviously what they did. But going forward with the whole Leno injury, I also hope we do a loan signing, but I like players like Joe Hart. His contract won't be renewed at Burnley. I obviously don't see him as our first choice keeper going into the future, but I think maybe get him on a free contract, or well, just
No,
have him
I don't
sign a
know.
contract with
I
Arsenal.
think we should rather stick
Look,
with Martinez than have Hart. Maybe as a
yeah,
backup keeper,
Well,
but
yeah,
Michael.
well, I just want Hart to come in and actually give competition to Martinez for this period of time that Leno's out, and as soon as Leno's back, I'd like to see him back in goal.
Michael, I think you are on the right track. I just don't know if Joe Hart is the right choice. But look at Liverpool with Adrian this season. A player that wasn't wanted by a club. And look what he did a solid job for those 10 games, 15 games that Alisson was out.
yeah.
So we need to look for a player like that. I agree with Michael. One of these free transfers or a guy on his way out, maybe even a 40-year-old, 42-year-old goalkeeper, full of experience type of thing. So
Like
yeah,
Willie Calabera did at Chelsea.
like exactly Willie Calabria at Chelsea or Adrian for Liverpool. There's good examples, but yeah, sadly, I'm not too sure about Joe Hart.
I also disagree with Gerard.
So,
But let's move on. So the game was in the balance, right? We went into halftime, probably not too bad a result. We came out and we scored the first goal. Yes, we didn't create much, but Pepe, with the beautiful top bins, called it into the top corner. I think that's what we paid all the money for, moments of brilliance like that. Literally game changing moments, taking something or taking nothing and creating something for the team. I think that's what you pay the big money for, right? And after that, it just seems like the players collapsed. They mentally they weren't up for the fight anymore because the goal at Pep, I think Pepper was at fault. He was switched off, so there was a 2-on-1 when they took the quick corner. Rob Holding,
Lacazette.
It was Lacazette.
as well.
Rob Holding, a bit unlucky when trying to clear the line. Dunk slid in. But yeah, it's just so frustrating. After that, you want the team to kick on, not to like sit back and allow pressure onto you.
Yeah, well, Bren, I disagree with the fact that we didn't create chances because we had plenty of chances, like I said, to go 3, 4, 5 nil up. It was just our finishing that let us down on the day. But I do agree that there's clearly a lot of frustration in the camp, and to me, it's starting to feel like the players want to take it out on external things than rather fixing it within themselves, you know. And Arteta clearly, he does set us up better. You can clearly see that. For me, we didn't look too bad defensively for the 90 minutes, but with the players that we have in our squad, they're just too prone to mistakes. They lose their concentration, and we concede silly goals, you know.
Dean,
So that's just something that we need to work on.
Dean, I personally feel after the first 25, 30 minutes, we didn't create any clear cut chances anymore. I think, other than probably the Lacazette header opportunity in the 30th something minutes, after that, we didn't really create anything. And going forward, what's your opinion? Because obviously, me and Michael disagree about the chance creation in the midfield, or especially from the midfield.
So look, we can go to a stat that for this season. There's only been one goal scored out of our midfield this season. I don't know if you guys know about
Yes,
that.
I said that, yeah.
So yeah, sure, it's difficult. At the end of the day, you both have arguments to what you're busy saying. Um, clear-cut opportunities. Not even Pepe's goal was a clear-cut opportunity. So
Yeah.
to dissect the two is a bit difficult, but yeah, we dominated possession for large parts of the game. Going into the second half, all the way to the end, I think we ended up with just short of 60% possession.
Mm.
So we definitely created clear-cut opportunities. Yeah, no, there weren't many clear-cut opportunities in the game itself. Like I said, the Pepe goal to me is not even a clear-cut opportunity because he had to work and
Mm.
put a bit of magic into that to get there. So, yeah, like I said, both of you guys have valid points to your argument. But to call them clear-cut opportunities from the 25th minute, I didn't see many clear opportunities. But, with Steepers, sometimes it just feels like we are knocking the ball around to knock the ball around for sake, and it doesn't. There's
Yes.
no intensity or any end product or any thought of an end product on there.
So that's my big frustration with the Guendouzi Ceballos midfield combination. Both of them are very tidy uh, ball players, so they can knock the ball around, keep possession. But it even feels like Guendouzi is also losing that bit of drive where he always had that driving run forward. You don't see that anymore. It's like it's lots. He's lost it over the last few months out of his game. Ceballos doesn't really create. He's also just like he rotates the ball through the midfield. He recycles, but he doesn't really create a lot. And that midfield combination is just, it can't be the way forward. Not even for this season. I think we need to try something different for the following 8 games. So um, I want you to touch on that, but also want you to speak about, the next thing that happened in the game was obviously the Arteta substitutions, which I think it's probably one of the things that Arteta is not that good at. I like him a lot as a manager overall, but I think he needs to work on his in-game management and his substitutions. From the outside, it's just a bit bemusing looking at what he's got on the bench and he brings on. For instance, why tyranny for Lacazette? I think it was just a bit strange.
Yeah, well, firstly, Bren, unfortunately, with the things, with all the injuries throughout our squad or throughout our midfield, I don't think Arteta has too much chance to try new things. I think we're going to see Guendouzi and Sabah's partnership in the midfield for most of the rest of the season. Um, and if he needs that extra bit of creativity, I don't know what's going on with the whole Ozil situation. If it's he's not working hard enough or it's a disagreement between player and manager. But he does add that bit of creativity, although he doesn't. Well, he gets criticized for not working as much, even though his running stats went up a lot more. So yeah, I think Sabaz and Guendouzi is going to be our partnership for probably the rest of the season. And I agree with you with Arteta's substitutions. He's starting to feel very Wenger-like. We went 1-0 up. You got five substitutions per game, and I was sitting there waiting, like, when's the substitutions gonna happen? And then we concede a goal. We won. It's 1-1. We 60, 70 minutes into the game, and then he wants to start making subs. Use the five sub rule to your advantage. We've got a young squad that can bring a lot of energy into the team. And we were 1-0 up. You bring those youngsters into the side, and we spoke about this in previous episodes. They'll just run up and down the pitch for you the whole time and defend that lead that you have, and maybe even create a bit more
Well,
opportunities.
I don't think I've got that big of a problem that he didn't change it directly after the goal because the team just scored. So why change something that just worked for you? Give them a bit more time. I can see the logic in keeping the team on the field that just got the lead. But for me, it's the personnel that he changes. Dean, maybe you can give a bit of insight as someone that's coached a few games. What would be the logic behind these changes?
You, I take it you want to touch more on the Kieran Tierney for Lacazette substitution
Yeah, well,
at
I
that time
mean,
of the game.
yeah, you could have. Yeah, I understand why he brought on Tierney to maybe get the overlap on, and he's quite good with his crosses. It's well documented. Tierney is a very good crosser of the ball, but now he's taking an attacking threat out and bringing an extra
Yeah.
defensive play on. It doesn't make sense.
No, so, I think we did see that he did try to make the substitution during an injury break, which would have still allowed him to make two more substitutions later.
Yes.
So, I don't know exactly because Kieran Tierney was coming on for it was going to be Saka. I
Yes.
don't know if you guys did see that. They did put up the board. It was going to be Tierney for Saka
Yeah. Yeah.
until the ref continued play, and now he only had one more opportunity to make all three subs.
Mm.
So, I think he's been very unlucky with his substitutions. As we touched on it in the first game, two injuries in the first 25 minutes. You've got one set of sub left to make. You know what I mean? So that was difficult. And again, yesterday, yesterday, listen to me, sorry, on Saturday. So, yeah, like I said, he was going to make that sub for Saka, for Tony,
Tierney.
probably push for Tierney, probably push Uber to the left, Laka up front, Ceballos maybe, and then. So I think he had another idea, and it ended up turning against him. He probably, yeah, like Michael says, we could have probably used the subs earlier in the game to make more of an effect. Or maybe he's thinking, he's going to use these oaks this game, use those oaks that game, or use their energy here, use the other energy there. So it's difficult to put ourselves in his shoes, but yeah, bringing attacking players off because in that substitution it was Laka, Saka, and who was the third?
Was Pepe taken off earlier, or was he also part of the trio that was taken off?
Yeah, so you know what I mean. A lot of creative and goal scoring threats from Saka to Laka to all of these are taken off at that time of the game. To me, when he made that sub, I felt like, okay, whoa, he's going for the draw here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what those substitutions made me feel.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Like I say though, he could have had another idea up his sleeve. Although Saka for Tierney doesn't sound like an attacking substitution either. So
Yeah. Okay.
it is, it is a bit disappointing. But looking at the end result where it ended up 2-1, maybe he was right in trying to put a bit more defensive reinforcement in there.
Well,
It's difficult,
Mike, let me throw this question to you. Let's look at that goal. Right? We, on this channel, we've not been praising, but we've been talking about Mustafa as one of the better performers under Arteta, right? and I think he got pulled into. There was a smart flick of the ball, but he got pulled in quite easily into the attacking player, so he was out of position for that goal. But I don't know. It was just a very demoralizing time to concede and way to concede, and obviously the player that scored the goal was not didn't help as well.
Yeah, well, Bren, I actually think the goal came. Well, Guendouzi, firstly, could have done a lot more to try and stop that first pass coming through. And then I think there should have been better communication between our centre back pairing. Yeah, I actually looked at the highlights again today. Mustafi could have done better as well, but if holding was on the striker that did that put the flick through to Mbappe, so if he just gave a shout, whatever, mark your man, do what you need to do. Mustafi might have never been pulled in or pulled away from that striker.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, I feel Martinez should have stayed up or maybe even stayed in goal. It would have made it much more difficult for him to score.
Look, the
Okay.
thing is, sorry to interrupt
Hmm?
there. With him coming out of his goal, he's trying to make the angle smaller. Because
Yeah.
if you stand in your goal, like let's say you stand here, your goal is now that big. But if you stand over here, all of a sudden your goal becomes,
A bit smaller,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? But
Just closing the angle
he
down a
needed,
bit now.
yeah, he needed to stay on his feet. I do not
Yeah.
understand him going down so early.
Yeah.
You could see that the striker had the time to see, okay, this oak's going down, and he just, chipped it. So definitely, we've seen it time and time again how Bernt Leno stands up
Mm.
like this. He doesn't go down so I think technically that's brilliant from Leno. Sadly, something he couldn't pass on to Martinez.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think we need to finish off the Brighton game. I want to introduce a new segment to the show. I'm going to do a quick point and shoot rating. So I'm going to run through the team. I'm going to give you each player to rate. Give the rating what you think and just maybe a sentence on why you think he deserves that rating. Okay, so I think we're going to skip Leno. Obviously, he only played 30 minutes, so we can probably just write it up as an average 5. Not much that he could have done or would have done differently. So yeah, let's then go to his replacement. Mike, seeing you so adamant on Martinez, what's your rating and why?
Well, I'd probably go with a 6. I'd maybe even give him a 7, but let's stick with a 6 for this game. I'm actually a big fan of Martinez, and I do feel that he can do the job. And I don't feel he made too many mistakes throughout the game, but that second goal was a costly error, and even for the first goal, he was nowhere to be seen. He came out, he missed the ball, and it was basically just our two defenders on the goal line trying to keep the ball out of the net. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna stick with the 6 for
Right.
Martinez.
Dean Bellerin.
A 5, no
Yeah.
creativity. Yeah, I can give it to you that he was pushed into the midfield at times, but he did overlap. And nothing really came from that side. I think he did assist Pepe here and there. Not for the goal, I mean. Assist him in play.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 5.
I'm gonna give Mustafi a 6. Just because I feel that again he didn't do too much wrong in the game. He wasn't very authoritative, or he didn't impose himself in the game, but he didn't make any like glaring mistakes. So I think I'll give him an average 6. Michael Holding.
For holding, I'll give him a 7. I'd ignore under normal circumstances. I would also give him a 6, but because he's been out with injury for so long, I'll give him a 7. I think he actually came back quite well. Um, I was looking at some of his stats. He had a 96% passing rate. He made 4 recoveries, 6 clearances. So all in all, I think he actually had quite a good game. But conceding 2 goals, you can't give him any more than 7.
Seven might be a bit high for a team losing and conceding 2 goals, but I agree with you. I think holding at a good comeback game, especially seeing he's not played since like the 2nd of December or something.
Yeah, that's why I said normal circumstances it would have been a
So
six.
Dean, I'm giving you all the fullbacks today. What do you think of Kolasniak?
Kolesniak, a 5 again as well. I know it's the same as my last rating. But yeah, not much impact. Defensively solid when, he was called upon, which wasn't that much. He didn't get forward enough. So yeah, 5 for me.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do Ceballos, and I'm gonna give him a 4. Not because I feel he played that badly. I think it's because he's not doing the job that he Arteta put him in the team for, breaking that line, just transitioning from a defense attack more quickly. I just think he isn't bringing that to the game at the moment. Mike Guendouzi.
Guendouzi, I'll go for a 6 again. Again, I don't feel he had too bad of a game. He's quite a busy player. He does get into the middle of the action quite a lot. But to be honest, for the last few games, like, what real impact does he have on the game? It's just like a player running around on the pitch the whole time.
Alright. Dean, I think you've got the easiest one, Saka.
I think it's the second easiest. Pepe would be the easiest. Pepe to me was the best player on our side. He dominated. Okay, sorry, we're going off. Saka. So Saka hit the bar. He could have scored there, very close to scoring. He interchanged with Upamayang amazingly on the left hand side.
And I think he
He
actually got the assist for Pepe's goal, isn't it?
You're correct. He got the assist for Pepe's goal. So that just shows you, how in and out Saka was. He was all the way on the right hand side assisting Pepe for that goal, and he wasn't far from Pepe. He was literally like 5-10 meters at most.
Yeah.
So yeah, an assist to his name, hit the crossbar, linked up well with the rest of the players. Yeah, I would go with an 8.
Okay, Mike, do Pepe.
Oh, what a goal that was, wasn't it? Then, well, like you said earlier in the episode, Brendon, that is what we paid the big money for those special moments that he can do. Um, Arteta came out saying Pepe needs to strike fear in the hearts of the opponents, and I think we can definitely see that from him. Also going to go with an 8 for Pepe. I don't feel any player deserves a 9. I think he had a good game, and what a wonderful goal.
Yeah, well, I think Pepe, he definitely had more opportunity to attack his left back. Yeah, his left back. So
Uh,
he had more time and space to run at him. I just feel there's just sometimes Pepe needs to release the ball a bit quicker. He cuts back a lot where he slows down the play, but overall his game was much improved. I agree.
the
Um,
goal came from him cutting back, eh?
what I mean by cutting back, he turns around and passes the ball back when
No, no, no.
he just
But
he
look,
slows down the game a
he
lot.
yeah, but he gave that left back defender of
Yeah, nightmare.
Brighton's
Yeah,
shame. Every time he got the ball, he just ran. I agree with you. He does cut back in, but that could be an instruction from the manager. If you
yeah,
don't see it happening, restart play.
yes, no,
Sorry,
it
Brendon.
can be. Right, I'll do. Let me take Lacazette, and then Dean, you can finish off with Aubameyang, right? And then Michael can run through all the subs for us. So Lacazette, I'm gonna give him a 5 as well. Uh, I think we can still. Well, personally, I still feel we can see what he brings to Aubameyang's game, because a lot of the things that Oba did positively, it was off movement where Lacazette dropped a bit deeper and he could, give the ball to Aubameyang in a bit more space, which we haven't been seeing recently with Nketiah up top. So yes, he's not the player that he used to be, but he still brings a different dynamic to the team, which we can still explore, especially with the final 8 games. Nadine Oba.
5 as well, eh? I don't know. Uh, it, to me, his performances from the last two games are not warranting us pushing for a massive new contract. And that's maybe because, he doesn't want to be at the club anymore. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but
Yeah, I think
past two
especially
games,
maybe the whole wage cut thing where we were the only big club that really imposed that on its players pushed a lot of our big players over the edge. We don't know what's going on internally or behind the scenes.
I think if there was a massive problem, he wouldn't play the game at all. But he just, yeah, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know how you guys feel. What would you give his rating?
I also probably would give him a 5. 5 is also
5, 6.
maybe a bit generous in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
But
Well, he
uh,
had 7 shots at the end of the day. We need to keep that in mind. But overall, his performance wasn't great.
yeah,
he had
right.
what?
7
He
shots.
had seven
And not
shots.
one goal. Okay, sorry. I'll drop my rating to a 3. Let's drop it down to a 3 then.
Yeah,
A conversion rate of 7 shots and no goals.
it's not his usual conversion rate.
It's not his
Right,
usual conversion
Mike, I'm
rate.
gonna let's do a quick fire for the substitutions. No comment, just let's give them a rating. All right, so the first one I can think of that came on was Nketia, wasn't it?
5.
And then we had Nelson also come on, Dean.
5.
All right, Tyranny,
5.
Willock, Dean.
4.
And who was the last one? We had another. Oh,
Martinez.
Martinez, obviously. And we already did him because he had played
Yeah.
such a big part in the game. All right, I think that's enough about the Brighton game. We can continue going through this negative loop where we single out
We'll never get out
players
of it.
and scrutinize players on their performances. So, if everyone that was here for the Brighton review, thanks for watching.